Morning children. So in the previous class we have started to learn something about the first aeroplane. We have learned about how interested the people were to fly for the first time in the air, and what were the attempts they made with the different kinds of wings and how they failed, and the efforts of two brothers, Wilbur Wright and Orville Wright from America, in making different kinds of gliders, testing them and all, isn't it? So we have also come to know that in 1900 they made first unmanned glider, which was successful. And after being successful, see, they had been spending a lot of time observing different kinds of birds, how their wings arch, isn't it? I've told this also. Right? So all these kinds of things they had been observing so vigorously, implementing them. They were not getting with good results, changing the patterns. Right? So they had been doing all these efforts for years and years without being discouraged by the failures that they have to face. And in 1900 they were able to make the glider have its successful flight. It was a 50-pound weight glider which had a wingspan of 17 feet. Isn't it? The tip of one wing to the other wing was 17 feet. So, inspired by this, there was no limit for the joy that they had when they were able to make the first successful glider flight, and they thought of making bigger ones. So, in 1901, they made a bigger glider which weighed 100 pounds, but it couldn't take off. It couldn't take off. The wings couldn't lift the flight, so it spinned on the ground and collapsed. Okay, so we have seen the lesson up to this point in the previous class, and now we will learn about what happened next. So they were inspired by one positive result in 1900, and then they made a great effort in creating another one in 1901. It didn't work. Okay, but they were not troubled by this disappointment. So when this 100-pound glider that they made in 1901 couldn't lift into the air, they became disappointed. They become disheartened. They become they lost interest, kind of a thing. My God, what? For 1 full year, they were putting all the effort, money, time, work, things, everything into building this, and it couldn't lift. But I told you in the other class, the previous class, they were not such kind of people who will throw the work aside. What they did was, they tried, studied, and understood why this particular thing didn't go into the air. Why this 100-pound machine didn't get into the air. So they were extremely disappointed, but they overcame it. They studied the problem. If you fix that problem, it will fly, no? We are not able to write with a pencil. We checked what is the problem. Yeah, it's a nib. The lead part is broken. If we sharpen it again, lead will come, we can write. So identify the problem part, find the solution for that, and then we can work it out. Right? So they have this love for adventure, doing these kinds of strange things, adventurous things. Right? So they were enthusiastic. They were always thinking positive, identifying the mistakes and rectifying this, and this adventure. Okay, we have to fly. We have to fly. There is no other thing coming across it. So this particular spirit of them helped them to come out of all these kinds of failures, and they decided to build a new and improved one. So they understood that, okay, for a 17 feet long wings can lift a glider of something around 50 pounds. So if we increase the load of it, increase the weight of it, increase the size of it, then there should be other adjustments also. Okay, so now what they decided was that they decided to add a tail also. Okay, they decided to add a moving tail also to that bigger one. So in the 19 note 1, they faced another failure, but they still decided to make a bigger one with a tail. Okay, and they made it in 19 note 2. In 19 note 2, they made another big glider with a wing span of 32 feet. So the first one they flew successfully was of 17 feet. Now they have doubled it. How much? Almost double, na? Yeah, 17 is 34. This is 32. Right? And it has a tail also. Okay, so the new machine that they have made in 19 note 2 had a movable tail, and a wingspan of 32 feet. Movable tail means it's not fixed there. They can move it. Okay, if it is fixed, it cannot move. But this is adjustable. Okay, now this tail was basically for the purpose of balancing it. They added this movable tail for balancing it, because when they observed first the birds, they observed only the wings of it. Second time when they started observing the birds, they saw usually the tail part of the birds will be folded up, but when they fly, the feathers come up and they get spread. So it's not just the wings, the tails are also used by the birds to fly, to balance themselves. And when they have to go up or when they have to come down, this folds up. When they have to turn, there are some other changes also happening. So they decided the tail also play, they got this idea that a tail of a bird also play an important role when the bird is in the air. Okay, so they decided to try that with this gliders that they make, and they add a movable tail, right? So they added a movable tail. Okay, now they tried this one, the third one with the wingspan of 32 feet and a movable tail. That was a successful one again. Okay, now they understood. See, when they made the first glider, the learning that they had, the understanding that they had, the point that they have understood was that controlling the flight, controlling the plane, controlling the glider in the air is the most important part of making aeroplanes successful. Isn't it? Now, with the addition of a movable tails and improvements with the shapes of the wings, yesterday we saw usually the wings were, with the cutting edge, now they have bended it a bit so that they can control it. So with making these kinds of improvements and adjustments, now they were able to make control. Now they were able to control these gliders or flights in the air. Okay, now with the 19 note 2 experiment with a bigger aeroplane or a glider which had a wingspan of 32 feet and a movable tail became successful, now they decided another thing. What was that? We will design a glider which will have an engine in it. So until now, all these were just like kites. There was no engine in that. There was no engine in that. Some strings or sticks will be there. If there is a man sitting inside it, they will be controlling it. There was no engine in that. It was not powered by a motor. Okay. So after making this particular glider flight successful, now they decided we will make a motor powered aircraft. Right? So now they started the efforts on establishing or making the first motor powered aircraft. Okay? So they have to design an engine, and this engine should have different kinds of controls so that they can make it successful. Right? And they designed a motor and a new aircraft also. Aircraft means aeroplane.